Hi, welcome to the Millennial Mum Show, and it's me, your host, Tolu, the Millennial Mum. Today we're ditching our phones, our TVs, our tablets, even our computers, and we're going to be focusing on books. I have an amazing, I always use the word amazing, but this one, amazing times two guest in the studio. She's a ghostwriter and editor who's written over 20 books and more. She even has an audiobook platform. You know what? I'm going to leave her to introduce herself. I have Uzezi in the studio. Hello, Uzezi.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
I'm fine.
I don't think I did justice to your introduction, so I'm going to leave you to introduce yourself. Please introduce yourself to us.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
My name is Uzezi, and as you rightly introduced, I'm a ghostwriter.
Okay.
I'm an editor, and I also provide self-publishing services to my clients.
Okay.
So you said I've written 20 books. Actually, it's the other way around. I have ghostwritten.
She's ghostwritten.
I've ghostwritten over 20 books. And I am also the author of Kiri, that's a novel, which was published in 2021. And I co-authored From Prison to Photography with Sheon Akisomi. And I have another book that is due to be released in July. That's The Path I've Been On.
Nice.
Then I have Biblioaud. Biblioaud is an audiobooks platform. Okay. So we all know audiobooks. You know, these days a lot of people complain about not having time to read. So of course, so you can listen to audiobooks and you still get the same benefits as reading.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction.
Thank you.
So today we're going to be discussing the topic culture of reading, the role of parents, and the benefits. You said you're a ghostwriter. Let's not assume that everyone knows who a ghostwriter is. Yeah. So I'm going to just say, please tell us who a ghostwriter is. Tell us what you do.
Okay, so a ghostwriter is basically somebody you commission to write your book.
You heard?
You know, so just like a ghost, you know, you don't see a ghost.
Yes.
So the ghostwriter is somebody that is behind the scene. For instance, you want to write your story from when you were born to date, or maybe it's a memoir.
Okay.
You either don't have the time to write or you don't know how to. Then you commission me, because that is what I do. You commission a ghostwriter to write a book. Now, we have processes involved. We have recording sessions where we do a series of interviews.
Okay.
And I get to collect all the information needed for the book.
Okay.
Then after that, we go to the next stage, which is transcription. Then we use the transcript to develop the first draft. Now, the essence of having that first draft is so that when I'm done writing it, I'll send it to you.
You can read.
You go through it, you agree, you give your feedback. I take the feedback and I do a second rewrite. Send it to you for approval. Once it is approved, then we go to the editing and proofreading stage and we are done. Then you have your manuscript ready to be published. So that's basically it.
There you have it. That's who a ghostwriter is, and that's what a ghostwriter does. So we're going to dive right into it. The reading culture is experiencing a major decline. I wouldn't really speak on the children's part now. We will get to that later. Even adults. The first stage I can use to see that is that you write a caption on social media. People do not even want to read the caption. What is your take on the major decline of reading?
You know, the funny thing is, for as long as I can remember, even since we were growing up, they've been complaining about the decline in the reading culture.
Okay.
So I used to be a journalist. I used to be on the arts desk. And even then, it was a major topic of discussion. We were always doing stories. So what can we do to improve the reading culture? Now, compared to 10, 15 years ago, I think we are worse off now.
Yeah.
But then there are a whole lot of things, a whole lot of distractions. 10, 15 years ago, the kind of internet services we have today is not what it used to be. So there are so many things that are vying for our attention. So at the end of the day, it depends on the individual. You have to be deliberate. You have to create an interest. You have to say that, okay, fine, I really want to develop this culture. But for you to do that, you should also understand, why should I read? You should understand the benefits. You should understand what reading does for you. Because if you do not understand it, then you won't find any value.
Interest, yeah.
You won't find any value in it.
Okay, so it's a personal thing. What am I benefiting from reading? What value do I get? Then I read. But you know what? While I understand what you said, I want to chip in. Something.
Okay.
It's something a very popular personality said. I'm sure you're a book person. You would have come across it. This person feels like the reading culture among Nigerian youth has continued to decline due to the poor educational system. One, an inordinate desire for materialism, a lack of reading materials, and functional libraries, emphasis on functional libraries for me. And above all, the dying passion for reading among youth. Basically, this person feels the reading culture is dying because we don't have libraries, because there's the need and interest for fast life, and the poor educational system. Do you agree with this?
Yes, yes, I do. You know, so if we take it from the poor educational system, first of all, now we have a situation whereby students today in school, they are being prepared mainly to pass their tests and to pass their exams. Right. So that is where our educational system is. That is what the stakeholders mostly complain about. A lot of students today in school are not learning. They are not learning to know. They are learning to pass the next tests and the next exam. So that's what they are being prepared for. Then if you talk about functional libraries, we do not have enough libraries. And even the few ones that are there.
Yeah. Is this in school or generally?
Generally. Now, I don't know about schools. I don't know about government-owned schools.
Okay.
So some private schools, they have for themselves.
Have.
But every community should have a library.
I agree with you.
You know, when the development of places are being planned in states, you have new places, new communities opening up.
Yeah.
What is the plan for a library in that community?
Space.
What is a plan, even for a public school in that community as well?
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of NGOs, we have some NGOs who go from school to school establishing libraries.
Yes, they do. They do.
But then the government should take it a step further because we need more libraries. And even bringing in libraries, then you now have to encourage people to go. Now, if you go to the few libraries we have, they are underutilized. We don't have a lot of people. We don't have enough people visiting these libraries. You know. So the few ones we have are underutilized.
Okay.
And they are very far. For those who really want to go to libraries, the libraries are far away from them. So we need libraries
everywhere.
We need libraries everywhere.
Okay.
So that for people who want to read, you can easily walk into a library, register at the library, walk into a library, borrow a book, read, return, or you can sit down there, read. There are other activities around that should also be done.
Okay. When we were growing up, I don't remember if we used to have library, but in my head, I just used to feel like as kids, the library is a place where you can just go exchange books. I remember we used to exchange books a lot as kids, like storybooks. And now my kids don't have people to exchange books with because I have books, but we do not have people to exchange books with. Now, library seems to be going extinct. Children need to read more. What are the ways that you feel like we can help them? Because I believe that reading requires focus. You need a particular level of focus to be able to understand, assimilate, and enjoy what you're reading, learn from it. How do we help them to do this? Emphasis on children.
Emphasis on children.
Yes, emphasis on children. Because I'm going to come back to the adults who can make informed decisions about what they can do. And also, you rightly said, audiobooks. There are audiobooks. People read on their laptops, even though I can't do that. I've tried. It's almost impossible for me. But how can we help children?
Okay. So you know what they say about children. They copy what they see the adults do. It's very simple.
In other words,
if you want your children to read, mommy and daddy, please read. It's as simple as that. You help them cultivate the habits. You won't go into a home where mommy and daddy reads and the children do not.
You think so?
Yes. Okay. Because they build into their children as well. How did I start reading? That's how I started reading. Okay. Because my father read a lot. And we had a lot of books. I grew up with books around me. So if you want the children to read, the parents also need to start reading. As you're buying books for yourself, buy for the children.
Noted. I hope you guys can hear, because I believe that a lot of us are all guilty of these things.
We're
because
all guilty.
I don't know, maybe it's my house, even the newspapers are kind of like going extinct. Because now you can just go to Guardian online and get the news there. Before, you could actually get a paper because your dad bought a paper, and then when it's done, you can pick up the paper and then read. You have your favorite columns that you read and stuff like that. However, yes, I know that we have to read. What would you think is the best age to start this up? Like 2 years old, 3 years old? Do you just start it from when the catch them young?
Yeah, catch them young. It's not too late. You can actually start at any time.
Because I was going to say that, what about people that are watching and have older kids?
You can start at any time. But for new parents, you can actually start reading to your children when they are babies. That's why we have the same different category of books for different ages. For the children that are from 2, 3, 4, 5 months, we have books that are basically poems, rhymes, that you read to them. And as they grow older and they're beginning to recognize, you're showing them the pictures. We have picture books. So there are books for all ages. But that does not mean that your child cannot start where they are. They can start whenever. So for a child who is not used to reading, there are different ways to get them interested.
Good.
Because like we know, their attention span is really very, very short. Now, how do you catch them? You don't want to give a child who has never read before, you don't want to give a child a book that is the size of a dictionary.
True.
So you begin with smaller books, and you begin with books that have short chapters. So you can encourage the child, okay, read just one chapter today. Just a chapter. And you go for that. So after the child has read a chapter, can you tell me what you read? What is it about? Did you learn a new word? Tell me about the characters. So now you're helping that child to have a conversation, to discuss. Now they are discussing with you. Tomorrow you do the same thing. Okay. So now the parent really has to be consistent. Because if you do it today...
and you come back after 2 weeks.
If you do it today and you cannot do it tomorrow, or maybe the child comes, okay, mommy, I'm done reading chapter 1. Should I tell you what I read? Okay, no, let's talk about it later because mommy is busy. So they would lose that newfound interest. So you have to be consistent.
So this might seem weird asking you about this, but I'm going to chip it in. What's your take on screen time, phone, tab? But I'm talking to a book lover, a writer, and my mind is just telling me you probably don't allow screen time in your house, but I'm still going to ask. What's your take on screen time for kids?
The ideal thing, there should be no screen time on school nights.
No, definitely.
On school nights, there should be no screen time.
I agree.
Unless it has to do with the schoolwork.
Okay.
But for weekends, you can allow 2 to 3 hours. For weekends, you can allow 2 to 3 hours.
2 to 3 hours,
During the holiday, a bit more.
What's a bit more?
5 hours. More. Yeah, 5 hours. But then it depends on what they are doing on the screen. Really.
Okay, now where's the let's use the ratio, 100. School night standard 0.
Yeah.
Saturday. How would you balance reading? Let's say kids are on holiday. How would you balance reading and screen time? Depending on what don't forget, learning can be in different forms. Yes. We have kids that are interested in things like coding and all the other stuff. Not to knock off their interest. Yes. Because they might have other interests and stuff. So we're trying to strike a balance here. What's the ratio?
So that's
kids are on holiday now.
Yes, so that's why I said unless it has to do with schoolwork. Because whether we like it or not, it is here to stay.
Yes, it is.
Technology and all of that. So they have to be computer literate and the rest. So you need to know exactly what they are doing online, what they are doing on the screen. There are times that I give my son e-books
to read.
So if he has e-books, of course, the laptop has to be on for him to read. So you need to know exactly what they are doing. Are they playing games or are they learning something? So you want to be sure. If it's something that is educational that they are learning from, fine. Okay. As long as it does not affect other schoolwork, it's fine. That's what I think.
So there's no ratio. It's just the balance.
it's a balance. You need to find it.
Okay.
You know, because as parents, we understand our children.
We do.
We do, right? I have 2 children. I have my daughter and my son. If I should leave her alone, she will stay. She will stay on YouTube for 24 hours.
Okay.
She will stay there for 24 hours. But my son would stay a while and he would leave because he wants to do other things. And I can give him ebooks, he would read it. If you give it to my daughter, you force her, you have to force her. So we have, our children are different. They are never the same. So you have to know each of them to know how you balance it for them.
Okay. Now, I think I can relate to, you know, the children's interests. So I need 3 tips. 3 tips, because you know we're talking about focus. Yes. Like, okay, buy them more books and, you know, start them off early. I need two tips, like, just because for me, for kids, I feel like a lot of us are guilty of the screen time.
We are.
It helps give us some me time, quote and unquote, because in all honesty, you can actually get me time from a child reading a book.
Of course.
But don't forget that, like you said, when they come back, I read this episode, and then it comes back to you. And like other ways, because we should also look at it from a perspective of older kids that have already been imbibed in this technology culture, using their phone. Like, we really, really need to just get you to sit down and read. Give me a tip, 2 tips.
So like I said, the shorter books, smaller books, and books with short chapters, you want to start them off on that.
Okay.
That's 1.
Okay.
Then number 2 is having a conversation about what they've read.
Okay.
So they are interested. You make it interesting.
Okay.
So now they are discussing the story, the scene, the setting with you. They'll be wondering, okay, so why is Mom, why Daddy, why are they so interested
so then
in
it takes them back to the next chapter.
Exactly.
Okay.
So now they are understanding plots and they are understanding suspense and they even want to go further, right? Then number 3, make them aware of other children who read and who write. You know, children can influence other children.
Yes, they can.
We have children authors as well.
Yes.
We have a lot of children authors. So while you're buying books for your children, you also want to mix them up. Ensure that you have books that are also written by children. So it inspires them as well. That's how I took writing seriously.
Because I was going to ask you, that when did you discover your love for writing?
Okay.
Reading, writing. Okay, you said your dad.
Reading very early, early. I really cannot say a particular age because I grew up reading and my father always bought us books in my house. And if I don't have any other storybook to read, I can always walk up to his shelf and pick a book. But then I remember then my dad was particular, there are certain books you can't read, you can't read it, you can't. So at the point he started removing those books from the shelf so that I cannot find them to read. Because
were you interested?
Of course.
Of course.
Of course. You know, when something is like a taboo, you want to know why.
What is inside this
you want to know why.
Yeah.
So he started removing them from the shelf, so I can't find them, but I found some anyway. So let's not
and
go
you
there.
read it.
So let's not go there.
Okay.
Then in secondary school, because I was in a boarding house, when I'm done reading a novel.
Yeah.
So I think my writing actually started in secondary school. When I'm done reading a novel, if I do not like how the writer ended it, if I do not like the conclusion, I pick up my exercise book and I continue from where the writer stopped.
Your most appropriate ending.
Yes, I have to give it mine.
Is it always,
so
is it always a good one?
Yes.
Or dramatic?
I have to write it to my satisfaction. I feel this is how the story should have ended.
Okay.
So I continue from where the writer stopped and I write. Once I'm done, I keep the exercise book, I'm satisfied, I'm okay. Then at the end of the term, when I'm packing my load to go back home, I come across those stories. What is this? I trash them.
Oh,
right.
When was it? Secondary school?
Yeah, in secondary school. Then fast forward to when my brother came home one day and he came with a storybook that was written by the cousin of one of his friends. And he challenged me.
To do your
own. He challenged me. He said, this book was written by a 16-year-old.
Oh.
Can you? And I read it. And I said, of course
I can.
And then I started writing and I stopped throwing my stories away. And that's basically how I started writing.
Aww.
Yeah.
So I'm choosing so hard. Like, oh.
So I stopped throwing them away. So that's basically how I started writing. And I never looked back since then. And besides, then I was even preparing to become a medical doctor. Once I discovered writing,
For medical doctor to write
no more sciences for me, no way.
Oh, wow.
No way.
That's really great. I like that. I like that because, you know, I guess sometimes you just need to nurture the passion inside of you.
Yes.
Okay, tell us about your audiobook apart from can you?
Biblioaud.
Biblioaud.
Biblioaud. The name was given by somebody very dear to us.
Biblioaud.
Biblioaud.
Oh, lovely. We shout out to the name author of Biblioaud.
Okay, so Biblioaud is an audiobooks platform.
Okay.
Yeah, where the reason why we have Biblioaud. Before I started, I did a survey.
Okay.
To find out the challenges people have when it comes to reading. When last did you read?
Okay.
What kind of books you like reading? What are your challenges, and so on and so forth. So the number one reason people gave for not reading is lack of time.
Yeah.
They cannot find the time, right? So I decided that, okay, fine. Biblioaud is something that we can do, provide audiobooks.
Okay.
Because I had a client that when we finished with her book, it was already published, printed, it's on Amazon and everywhere, and she sat down and she was like, okay, fine, Uzezi, what next? What about audiobooks? I'm like, okay. So actually, some people can actually request for this. So I decided that it is something we should do. So Biblioaud is out there.
Okay.
Now we're working to upload more audiobooks.
So is it free?
No, it's not free. You buy the books. You buy the audiobooks, but they are not expensive.
And it's convenient.
Affordable. And it's convenient. The beautiful thing about audiobooks is that you can listen to them anytime, anywhere. So you don't waste your time. When you're gymming, you're plugged in, you're listening to a book. When you're exercising, you're listening to a book. When you're in the kitchen cooking, you're listening to a book. When you're doing laundry, you're listening to a book. When you're in traffic, you're listening to a book.
Yeah.
So you don't want to waste all that time.
And then just plug in your ears.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
People tend to think that reading is for educational purposes. You have a passion for reading and writing, and it's a different thing for you because you make money from it, you find joy in it. Now, how do you differentiate, like, okay, I'm reading for educational purposes? Because for kids, most times, like you said, everybody wants them to read for educational purposes.
Yeah.
Like, I want to read for fun. Now, when I go to Biblioaud, for instance, how do I find the book that interests me? How do I say, oh, this, because for my kids, sometimes I'm like, do I tell them this is for educational purposes? Or do I just leave them? How do you balance that? Educational purposes, entertainment, and just for general learning?
So it depends on the individual. What do you like? What kind of books do you like to read?
Yeah.
Some people are interested in romance. Some people historical fiction.
Yeah.
Some people purely non-fiction. Some people crime, thriller, mystery, paranoia. So you just need to know the kind of book you enjoy reading. For a long time, I only enjoyed reading fiction. That was long before I started ghostwriting.
Okay.
I only enjoyed reading fiction. But now, as a ghostwriter, I read wide. I have to read non-fiction. I read everything. I read self-help books and all of that. So what do you enjoy reading? There are some people who actually enjoy reading educational books, even if they are not in school. Because they are learning. But the interesting thing is, no matter what kind of book, you're actually learning something.
Yeah.
Even if it is fiction, even if the story is made up, there's something in the character's life that you pick. You pick something from it. And like they say, art imitates life, life imitates art. It's both ways, right? Me, the writer who is writing the story, is writing based on his or her knowledge.
Okay.
Even if it's made up, but then they are using their knowledge.
Yeah, true.
There are times that you read a book and you go online and you're researching about what you read.
Like, oh,
you're gaining more knowledge. Especially when you read medical fiction. Oh, they're always very interesting. Yeah, medical fiction.
Can you
Even
see my
law.
face? Now you guys like, yeah, law. Maybe
yeah,
because I can relate to the legal ones. Medical fiction, I'm just looking at it because I'm thinking, if I see a medical book, would I pick it up? Would I read
they're
it?
very interesting.
Nice. You guys have heard. Pick up that book, that random medical fiction book. Read it, that legal book. Okay, so how many books have you read this year?
Okay. So I have a goal to read 1 book a week.
1 book a week.
So the reason, I used to do more than that. Yeah, I used to do more than that.
For work or for leisure?
Leisure. I used to do more than that.
Okay.
I could read 1 book a day.
Okay.
But the reason why I can't.
Sorry to cut you. As a mom, we took it.
Yeah.
Working.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But now that I'm actively a ghostwriter,
okay,
it's difficult for me to do that. Because every day I'm basically reading. I'm writing, I'm editing, so there is always something I'm reading. So I limit it to just a book a week. Now it could be either a physical book or it could be an ebook on my system or it could be an audiobook. I think I've listened to more audiobooks this year than I've read physical books.
Give or take about 50?
Nah, not up to. I said a book a week. I said a book a week.
Okay, a book a week, about 15, which be about or like 10.
50,
no,
more
than, like 15.
Yeah, about 12, 13.
So what makes a great story for you? Because I know that you read widely. What makes a great story? Because like, I have in the words of J.K. Rowling, says, if you don't like to read, you haven't found the right book. So what makes a great story? Like, what would you...
It's a combination. It's a combination of things. Now you have the characters. The characters have to be interesting.
Okay.
Right characters. Now you have the plots. The plot should be the right plot. Right?
Okay.
Should be interesting. Then you have the setting as well. Then the conflicts. That is the most important part.
That gets you into it.
Exactly, because if the conflict doesn't make any sense, then there's no suspense. If the conflict helps you to create that suspense, then most importantly is the voice of the writer, the voice of the book. How are you telling the story? There are some books that you pick up from the very first line, you are hooked, depending on the language of the writer. So you have that. So really, it's not one thing, it's a combination. Then, of course, we cannot forget packaging.
It's quite important to you?
Yeah.
But we've seen people read like tattered books and or something like the packaging.
Packaging is also very important.
You should tell them if you're planning to write a book.
When I'm reading a book
and
the pages pull out, I lose interest. No matter how interesting, no matter how interesting that book is, I lose interest. I don't want my pages falling off.
Okay. Okay.
So it can be very frustrating. It can be very frustrating because I'm enjoying this book.
And then you're picking the pieces.
You know. But I think there was one I had to overlook.
And you're just going in.
I had to overlook, yes.
If you like, fall off. I'm going to finish this story.
It was that good. I had to overlook it, yeah. Okay.
So, Uzezi is giving you guys tips in case you want to write a book. Don't go and be doing your packaging, you know. And also, if you feel like you have given your child a book and it's falling off and the child doesn't have interest again, maybe you might consider helping them binding together, because if it's frustrating for an adult,
it's very, very frustrating.
It must be, you know, frustrating for kids.
Yeah.
So, what's the most surprising thing that you've learned from a book? Like shocking, surprising. Like, oh wow,
that's difficult.
Because you read all the
time. Yeah, that's difficult because I've read so many kinds of books. But I would say probably the realization of what was going on in From Sorrows to Satan. That's the title of a book by Maria Corelli, written in 18-something, so it's not a recent book.
Okay.
Right? So it's fiction, but it's good versus evil. And there's a character that was basically Satan. Right? Okay. So it was that realization towards the end, knowing that, oh my God, this person
is actually
is
Satan. Oh,
it was that realization.
So they actually dragged you that far till you realized?
Yes, it was that interesting. It was that interesting.
Were you liking the character already?
Oh, not really.
Or just
not really. Because that character was, what do you call them, the antagonist.
Okay.
Yeah, that character was the antagonist. So it was towards the end that you realize, if you're a Christian It is towards the end that you realize, oh my God, this is what is happening.
Oh, the spiritual side of it.
Exactly, this is what is happening.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that can also relate to your everyday life when things are happening. It's just like, this can't be God.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to add the spiritual angle there. But yes, so we've been talking about reading. You've told us how to foster reading in our children. You've told us how to read more as adults. And hopefully, we'll take 1 or 2 tips here and also read captions and try to read even the littlest things. But what else do you do for fun?
Okay, so before I talk about fun,
Yes.
if I talk about fun, there's something I forgot to add.
Please do.
You know, when we're developing the reading culture, we talked about developing the reading culture in children.
In children.
Right. Now, for the adults involved, the adults in those homes,
Yes.
you also want to develop yours as the parents.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of us, we blame time, lack of time. Now, even putting audiobooks aside, we normally set a task for the day ahead.
I do every day.
So when you're setting your routines for the next day, please just include 1 hour for reading.
1 hour?
Include 1 hour for reading. We have to be deliberate.
Okay.
You have to be very, very intentional about it. If you want to cultivate it.
You can see that I'm not a reader. I'm more of a listener, though.
If you want to cultivate it for
Yes.
yourself, include 1 hour for reading in your daily to-do list.
Okay.
And when you have that 1 hour, make sure you do not have any distractions.
You read.
Right. So you read. Now, that is aside. Set a day aside every week where the family gathers to discuss what they've read.
So we're all reading.
Apart from it being a bonding time
Yes.
for the family,
Yes.
you are helping the children with their communication skill.
Yes.
And you are helping them learn how to discuss topical issues.
Okay.
You read a book, tell me what it's about, and they can tell you.
Okay.
So it's skills for everybody involved.
Okay.
So
I want
that's
to say
very
something.
important.
Does this necessarily need to be a book, or can it be like a newspaper, an article? Does it necessarily need to be a book?
It doesn't have to be a book, but as long as you're reading something.
But what
just
happens to
read.
me, somebody like me that doesn't read physical books, that I actually enjoy listening? Maybe because I'm very active, I can't say I can't find time to read for 1 hour. It says you don't crucify me yet. I can't say that I can't find time to read for 1 hour. However, I'm more of a listener. I would probably subscribe more to an audiobook, but I'm a podcast person. I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Then ensure that you're listening.
So where do I find time how do I discuss that with the family?
Now, even that 1 hour that you take aside,
Yes.
you can also listen to audiobooks. You're talking about how do you discuss it. Discuss what you listened to. It's as simple as that. You can note it.
Okay.
So you don't forget. When you're listening to audiobooks, we tend to forget. If you don't note them down, you actually forget. So when you're listening to audiobooks and you come across something that makes a lot of sense, you know, when reading, how you underline or use your highlighter to highlight some places in your book. So if you come to a place in audiobook, just note it down. Have a jotter or something where you note those things down. Usually some people have both. They have the physical book and they have the audiobook.
Okay.
So when they're listening to it and they come across something, quickly they go to that place and they note it down quickly because they don't want to miss it. Okay. So you can still discuss audiobooks.
Okay, we're talking about, I don't want to use the word, it's not regular. So now what happens to kids that don't have certain resources? We know that there's no library now for these children. The government is not providing enough libraries in certain places, and some of these kids want to read. What are your advice to those kind of children? Not everybody has money to buy books every summer. Not everybody. How can we help those kind of children to develop the reading culture
in them?
Yes.
Right. So usually we have different NGOs that actually, some of them, those are their focus.
To give out books. Going
around and distributing books. But as parents, if you have such children and you know that they have interest in books, don't be shy about it. Look for people around you who read and borrow books. You were saying earlier that when we were growing up, we used to borrow books.
Yes, yes.
That was my way of making friends when I was younger.
You used to exchange books?
No, I'm not a people person. I don't know how to make friends. But you cannot walk past me holding a book and I will not say hello. It's not possible. So
because
that's
you
how,
want to look at the book or read the book.
Exactly. So that's how I used to make friends. If you have children who are interested in books, if you look around you for people who read, you will find. You will. You know, you tend to find what you're looking for.
True.
Yes.
True. Okay. So, I have a random question. I've asked you what you do for fun. What do you do for fun besides reading? Okay, Zezi's not reading today. She's not doing mommy duties.
I watch TV.
Do you watch educational stuff?
No.
Fun stuff?
Movies. Series.
Which one? Which one do you like most?
Crime.
I guess right.
Crime and drama.
Crime and drama. Okay.
I like drama.
That's a good mix.
But I don't like action.
Why? You don't want to?
There is no story. There's no plot.
Don't say that.
I get to the end and I'm always disappointed. Okay, like, so why?
You
were
want to
they
rewrite the
fighting?
end.
Why were they fighting? Why were they fighting? So crime. Somebody committed a crime. Drama. Yes. Oh, drama. Oh my God, I can cry. So I love to watch those movies that will make me cry.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, my last random question: if you had the attention of the world for 5 minutes, what would you say to them?
Please, everybody, read.
She said, "Read,
read,
read,
read, and read." No, seriously,
read.
Everybody should read.
If you didn't say read, I would have been disappointed.
Buy a book. I'm all for reading. I'm all for promoting the culture of reading. I'm all for promoting. I'm part of an organization in Nigeria. Okay. It's made up of all the book clubs, mostly all the book clubs in Nigeria.
We have a lot.
Yeah, in different states.
What about for the children?
We actually have book clubs for children as well.
So we've been talking about exchanging books. Do they do that there? Like, plug the moms.
I don't think they exchange books.
But what do the kids? Let's not talk about the adult.
So we have network of book clubs and reading promoters in Nigeria. Okay. Where a lot of book clubs are members of this association. Basically, the essence is to promote reading. Okay. Between 2023 and 2024, Lagos was the book capital of Nigeria. Okay. So we had 2 book walks. We have different book clubs. We have children book clubs.
Where can I find one?
Right. So I'll recommend one to you. So maybe you put it.
Okay, we can put it in the caption.
So that it can be in the caption. So they are usually, if you find them, but I think the thing is, most of them meet virtually. Okay, that's fine as well. Most of them meet virtually.
A lot of moms would like virtually.
They recommend books for the children.
Okay.
And if your children are really very interested in all of that, sometimes they get to get free books.
Oh, nice.
You know. So when they recommend good books to you and you buy books for your children to read.
Okay, thank you. I think that's very important because, yes, we're talking about promoting the reading culture and everything. If I don't have the time and I can actually get the kids to join the book club, then it's easier for me to say, oh, what did you read? What did you learn? Let's talk about this. I know adults can easily find a book club. They are on the internet and everything. I don't think kids will actively go and find a book club. Else maybe a friend is there and then they tell a friend to join and whatnot. So for the kids, I think the parents would really like that. We'll have that in the caption where you can find a book club or some of the book clubs that Uzezi is going to recommend to us. So it's been so wonderful having you here. I absolutely, you know me, I have a soft spot for you because maybe because I'm trying to read too. I listen to a lot of educational stuff.
You're supposed to be writing your book.
Don't talk about my book here. I swear it's been like 2 years. We'll get there, Uzezi. I would find my writing mojo back. I will. I promise. It's not in the works this year, but with you on my side, I'm sure I'll get time to do that. Sure. And yes, the writing the book threw me off. But yeah, that's fine. You already spoke about how you're a ghostwriter. There's some moms, dads, some people watching this that might want to write a book or want to reach out to you to edit, to do everything. Can you quickly plug yourself, where they can find you, what your name of your business, where it is, website, anything? Just.
So if you just search for Uzezi Adesite on Google, you find me.
Girl, give it to them.
So on Instagram, I am Zezi. Okay. I-A-M. Zezi, Z-A-Y-Z-E-E. That's on Instagram and on Twitter. Facebook, I'm just Uzezi Adesite. You find me. Once you type in Uzezi Adesite, you'll find me, basically. So bring your books. Let us help you realize your writing dreams. Thank you.
And that's it on the Millennial Mom Show. Remember, in the words of Margaret Fuller, today a reader, tomorrow a leader. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And till I see you next time, it's me, Tolu, the Millennial Mom. Don't forget to leave a like.